If you had met me 10 years ago, before my spiritual awakening, you would have met a completely different person. I used to have low self esteem. My life was full of negative thoughts and unhealthy habits. But then something shifted. I had my first spiritual awakening in 2015, and it completely changed how I saw life and the world around me. It was like a switch had been flipped in my mind, and suddenly everything became much clearer. And as I become more aware and connected to my true self, I realized those old habits that I used to have no longer serve me anymore. They don't resonate with the new me. And I started letting go of this bad habit gradually. And in this video, I just want to share 5 habits I quit after my spiritual awakening and why they don't align with the spiritual self. But let me tell you a quick story about the first habit I let go of. A year or two after my first spiritual awakening, someone I knew from my university dorm days, an acquaintance I haven't seen in almost a decade, asked me to meet up with him. I agreed, not thinking too much of it, but as soon as we met, it became clear that he had an ulterior motive. He wanted me to sign up for his affiliate marketing scheme so he could make some money. To make things even more uncomfortable, he brought a friend along who I didn't know, and the two of them started pressuring me to join. I knew pretty quickly that it was a multi-level marketing scheme, and so I really don't want to sign up. Then his friends started questioning me, saying things like, "Don't you want to support your friend? Don't you want to earn more income for yourself?" And then out of nowhere, I just say no, like a loud, clear, resounding no. No, I just don't want to do it. I don't feel like it. There's no reason. My answer shocked them. And honestly, it shocked me too. Because before my spiritual awakening, I was such a people pleaser. I'm the type of person who would say yes even if I didn't want to, just to avoid disappointing someone. But then I always feel resentful later for agreeing to something I didn't believe in. This time was different. That no came from deep within me. It wasn't just a word or a rejection. It was like my spirit stepped forward and say, "No, this isn't for you." And it felt so good to finally honor my authentic self instead of pleasing someone else. So the first habit I slowly let go of after my spiritual awakening was this need to please others, to accommodate and to fit in. For a long time, my low self-esteem make it easy for me to give in to pressure and guilt tripping from others. But after spiritual awakening, I developed such a strong connection to my authentic self that it became really hard for me to ignore my intuition or compromise who I am. It's not even about the other person, whether they have good intention or not. If something feels off or doesn't resonate with my higher self, I'm just not going to go along with it. And it doesn't matter if you are a friend, family member, partner, or even just an acquaintance. It's nothing personal. If the energy doesn't align with my intuition, I'll say no. And because I wasn't as agreeable anymore, I noticed some people started distancing themselves away from me. Maybe they took the rejection personally, or maybe they just wanted people around them who would agree with them. So when I started saying no to things that didn't align with my spiritual self, I became more unpredictable or harder to manage. I'm not as nice as before. So people kind of move on to someone else, others who would support and agree with them. But guess what? That actually felt amazing. Yes, I do have less friends, but it was also very liberating. I used to carry so much responsibility for other people's emotions and needs, feeling like I had to take care of them all the time. I would think to myself, if I reject them, would they feel hurt or disappointed? And it was exhausting. Now I learn to let other people handle their own disappointment and rejection. And I don't feel resentful anymore for being forced into things I didn't want to because, well, I don't let myself get forced into things in the first place. As I progress in my spiritual journey, I also developed this courage to be disliked, and it's been life changing. I don't care as much about what other people think of me anymore. Of course, it's not completely gone, but at least I've stopped relying so much on external validation or how others perceive me to determine how I feel. This shift has also made me a better writer and content creator because not everyone will agree with or like what you share, and that's fine. Life goes on, and I can allow them the freedom to form their own opinions. I don't need to control their views. Another habit I've been letting go of is trying to help people who I can't help. I had this realization between my second and third spiritual awakening. One time I sent a message to my friend saying, "Hey, maybe don't drink so much alcohol." And his reply was like pure anger. Another time I tried to give a friend, my twin flame, some advice about his business. And he snapped back with, "Don't you think I know what I'm doing?" From a positive perspective, I genuinely want to help. I see potential in people and want to give advice to help them grow. But on the flip side, sometimes I'm just being a busybody. It's really not my business how well someone is doing. And honestly, it comes from my own need to feel needed. It's my codependent habits. Both of these perspectives are true to a certain extent, and now I'm learning to step back and let people figure things out on their own. After going through a couple rounds of spiritual awakening, I realized not everyone wants the same things I do. Just because I see potential in someone doesn't mean that they want to reach it. I can't help people who aren't open to being helped. I cannot want something more than the other person. I cannot want something they do not want for themselves. Sometimes you just have to let people go through their own journey and not control their experiences. Even if it seems like they're heading the wrong direction, it's actually the right one for them because from where they are standing, that's all they can see. If they are not ready, they are not ready. No matter how much you say, they're not going to listen. They can only take in what they are able to at that moment. And they will actually learn so much more from making their own decision than from me trying to constantly step in and save them. That kind of approach never works. People don't really like to be told what to do. If they really want the help, they will ask for it. I don't need to force myself into their life, meddle with their choices, or give advice they didn't ask for. Also, the other person may have their own unique way of doing things that work for them. What I think is good for them may not be actually good for them. Like in my case, my twin flame has his own way of doing business, and I have my own way of doing business. Even though I feel a deep spiritual connection with him, he's never going to listen to me for business advice. And the business advice he had given me so far, let's just say it didn't resonate with me. And it's fine. Like we just got to do what works for us. We don't have to do business the same way. If I insist on my way, thinking that it's the right way, then that's just my ego trying to control other people's action. After a spiritual awakening, you might also feel this urge to tell people to meditate, try to get them to see the world that you do or the spiritual side of things. And I get it. Like quitting this habit isn't easy, especially since I love giving people advice. I enjoy sharing my insight to help others. But now I don't go around trying to fix or improve other people's life. I just share what I wanted to share here on this channel. If people are interested, they will come. YouTube will recommend my video to them. If not, they will just look elsewhere. There's more freedom for both the other party and me. And again, what's interesting is that when I stop reaching out, some people stop reaching out too. When you stop helping others as much and focus more on yourself and your own growth, you appear less caring and helpful. And that's not really a bad thing because that kind of dynamic you have with other people is not healthy in the first place. It's just something that you have to adjust when you're going through a spiritual awakening. You have to learn to connect with others in healthier ways that don't rely on this need and be needed dynamic. The third habit I want to share is for all the manifester out there. Before my spiritual awakening, I always have this big, grand dreams. Like I want to be an animator at Pixar. I want to write my own music, sell it to singers, have my own Broadway musical, publish books, earn lots of money, have financial freedom, travel the world, and be in an amazing relationship. I was like super idealistic and very future focused, always thinking about what I wanted to do and experience someday. But after my first spiritual awakening, which was more like a rude awakening to me, I slowly started letting go of my attachment to my fantasy, ideas, and fixed outcome. Don't get me wrong here. I'm not saying you shouldn't have dreams, goals, or things you want to manifest. Our spirit is here to experience life after all, and suppressing your desires doesn't make you more spiritual. It just only make your life more muted and dull. What I'm saying here is about letting go of the attachment to those dreams and how or when they're supposed to happen. This is the third habit I quit. To know whether you're attached to something, ask yourself, how would you feel if your dreams doesn't come true? Will you feel impatient, unmotivated, or even lose your passion and excitement? Are you so tied to a specific outcome that not getting it will make you feel miserable? I've actually been there. I spent 2.5 years studying animation. It was my dream. Then, when I became an animator for about 3 months, I realized that it wasn't what I wanted to do after all. It wasn't anything like I imagined or dreamed of. I ended up feeling rather depressed and completely lost, like I had lived my whole life wrong. I was so attached to the idea of how my life should look like that when reality didn't match my vision, it broke me. If I wasn't that attached to my dreams, I would be like, okay, I try animation. It wasn't what I like to do. Let's try something else, then there wouldn't be any suffering, right? But because I'm so attached, I feel so miserable when my dreams didn't come the way I imagined it to be. So, yeah, dreams are great, but the attachment to them can trip you up. And oftentimes, when we think about the future, we look at it through the lens of our ego. The things that we want, the dreams we chase, and the goal we set might be what our ego thinks we need, but that's not always what our soul truly wants. Over time, I learned to let go of being so attached to outcomes. If I don't get what I want, I trust that the universe has something even better in store for me. It might not be what my ego wanted or could even imagine, but it's exactly what my spirit wants. And I'm all for that. I'm all for following my spirit. I still have dreams, set goals, and plans for the future, but I realize that hitting those goals isn't that important. They don't define my happiness. Since my spiritual awakening, I've been trying to stay more present. Instead of obsessing over every steps ahead, I focus on having a clear direction and just figuring out the next step. And the rest, I just leave it to the universe. I trust that if it's something my soul really wants to experience, the universe will bring it to me. I will manifest it. And if it's just my ego's desire and it doesn't align with my spirit, I know that no matter how hard I try, it won't work. Even if I get it, I won't feel happy and fulfilled. So I stop forcing things or outcomes to happen, whether it's relationship, career, money, whatever it is. I'm learning to take it easier. The next habit I've been slowly quitting is being too attached to material things. Now, don't get me wrong, I still love having nice things. I still love my comfortable, soft pillow, buying new clothes or touching the nice fabrics at the clothing store, and enjoying good music. It's not about never buying a new phone or a cool looking t-shirt or giving all your possession away. After all, we're still human, and experiencing life with our five senses is part of the human experience. But it's about not getting too attached to this thing. Again, the keyword here is attachment. It's not just about buying less stuff. Even before spiritual awakening, I never been the type to collect tons of things or splurge on branded goods. It's more about the willingness to let go of things when they have served their purpose. I caught myself hanging on to stuff that are already broken, that don't work well, or just aren't useful to me anymore. I don't need these things anymore, but sometimes I just can't bear to throw or give them away. But as I keep growing on this spiritual journey, I'm getting better at it. I started to appreciate the joy those things once brought me, giving it a final little hug and saying thank you. And it's easier for me to let them go now. Whether that's throwing them out or donating them to someone who needs them or recycling them, it feels freeing. It's like I'm closing a chapter and making spaces for new experiences. Sometimes we hold on to things we don't need or even care about, either for security or sentimental reasons. When my dad passed away 2 years ago, I have to go through his belonging and I noticed so much duplication. So many of the same computer parts, endless wires of the same kind, t-shirts and shorts still in their original packaging. When he was alive, he would rather wear clothes with holes in them than touch the new stuff. The truth is, we don't need so many pairs of shoes, cups, or bowls. There's just one of us after all. Sure, having a spare cup or an extra pair of shoes is practical if something breaks, but we don't need an entire stockpile of backups. A lot of us buy things, shove them into a corner, and never use or even remember them. We shop in excess thinking that I'll use this someday, but most of the time it never happens. After my spiritual awakening, I'm more intentional when making purchases. I stopped buying new things unless I needed to replace something old. Now I only buy what I truly need. I also started letting go so much stuff. I actually appreciate my possession now a lot more, not less, because the things that I have currently are things I truly need and are grateful for. They are not something I just buy and chuck them into one corner. And when they have served their purpose, I let them go. I don't hold on to them as much. Even sentimental things like letters or photos, I realize that some friendships have moved on, and I don't need to hold on to all of these reminders of the past. Even journals and notes I've taken, after a while, I just throw them away. The lesson I've learned are already part of me. I don't need to keep everything written down. I'm very satisfied with what I have now in terms of physical possession. Every year, I will let go of even more and just focus on appreciating what I currently own. The last habit I stopped was believing every single thought in my mind. Here's what I realized. All the suffering I went through before my spiritual awakening was created by my own egoic mind. I used to believe that I wasn't good enough, I wasn't important, and that people don't like me. And anytime my mind had the chance to tell me that story, it would jump on it. Every trigger, every situation, my mind would twist it somehow to mean one thing: I'm not good enough. It's like my mind was this storytelling machine, constantly spinning a narrative. For example, someone didn't text me back, they must not like me. Someone looked uncomfortable while talking to me, I must be the one making them feel awkward. Someone gave me a compliment, oh, they're just being nice, they don't actually mean it. They're probably just trying to make me feel less awkward in the group. It was always about me, me, me. No matter what happened, my mind would find a way to use it as a proof or an evidence that I wasn't good enough, just to keep its story going. After my spiritual awakening, I stopped taking my mind so seriously. It still yaks away sometimes, throwing out some random negative thoughts, and I'll just look at it side eye like, Oh, really? I don't believe everything that my mind tells me anymore. Sure, it would be amazing if my mind could be silent all the time, but this can be really tough, especially when you're just starting out on this journey. If you haven't healed your past wounds or shifted your belief system yet, your mind will keep running back to the same old narrative. The trick is not believing everything it says. I mean, if someone were to come up to you and say, "You're a blue cupboard," you'll be like, "What? Like, what? Me? Blue cupboard?" Like, so why give your mind's thoughts so much weight and attention when they are untrue? Like if someone doesn't text me back, maybe they are busy or they just don't know how to respond. If someone feel weird talking to me, maybe they are dealing with anxiety. If someone give me a compliment, just accept that. Why do I have to interpret their action all the time? Not everything has to be about me. I've learned to stop assigning meaning to every little situation. Even if I don't know why someone does something, I don't need to know, and that's okay. But it's not like this egoing mind is bad and we have to get rid of it. It's just running on habits. It's like my brother, he moved his clothes to a different closet, to a different room recently, but he still keep coming to my room and opening the old closet out of habit. Changing habit takes time. You will catch yourself going back to the old closet, to the old thought pattern or the old belief system until your new habit sticks. And that's totally normal. Don't judge yourself. And if you have a noisy mind and you want to stop your thoughts, try this simple spiritual practice.